I am with all of you in saying that this is not the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. This is simply WrestleMania 25. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another edition of WrestleMania Review Series, and this time we are looking at WrestleMania 25. It is not the 25th anniversary. Let's get that out of the way. And as you can see, I've clean shaved because it's the WrestleMania that made me a fan, believe it or not. This one was the one that I'm like, oh, I'm hooked. I want to see what happens next. Now, I did not become a fan because of this show necessarily, because this show is actually not that good. I actually rewatched it. I was pretty bored for a good chunk of this show. The only saving grace was, of course, my favorite match of all time, which we'll get to when we get to it. But, man, for a good chunk of this show, the best match was Money in the Bank. And that's saying a lot because there's a lot of really boring stuff that happened here. And we don't get a lot of good stuff on this show. Now, for it being 25 years of WrestleMania, the video package was awesome of all the current wrestlers that are going to be on this show, sharing their favorite moment of WrestleMania. And I was just kind of disappointed with the outcome of this. Let's just start with the show and I'll explain why I was disappointed like I was. We kick off the night with Howard Finkel welcoming everybody to WrestleMania and introducing Nicole Scherzinger of the Pussycat Dolls to sing America the Beautiful. I thought she did a solid job. She wasn't John Legend, but she was pretty good. This was around the time where the Pussycat Dolls were pushed to the moon. They had just won an Oscar for Slumdog Millionaire. The song Jai Ho won that Oscar, I believe, that year. So they were heavily pushing Nicole Scherzinger for anything and everything. She was even in Men in Black 3. But anyways, let's just talk about the show and the wrestling itself. Kicking off the night with the Money in the Bank ladder match. And we had CM Punk, Christian, Finlay, Kane, Kofi Kingston, Mark Henry, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin. A good who's who of the top guys from Raw, SmackDown, and ECW. I really enjoyed this one, and that was shocking to say because it has two heavyweights, two guys that are not really meant to be in ladder matches, Mark Henry and Kane. I guess they had to put Mark Henry given that he was Mr. Houston. And I was thoroughly entertained by this. Shelton Benjamin was the true MVP of this match, doing this high dive. This was the precursor to Kofi Mania when we started seeing Kofi Kingston as a top player. There was a part where he climbs the ladder. Mark Henry catches him midair, does a body slam on him to the ladder. We get the introduction of the mini ladder from Hornswoggle. He dives on all the guys. That was a cute moment, funny moment. But the big thing for me is that CM Punk won the first man to win back-to-back Money in the Bank ladder matches and the only one to do it at WrestleMania. I was happy with this result because this was their way of giving CM Punk a second chance at redemption, and goodness he did, because he ended up turning heel and giving us the best feud of his career. I don't care what anybody says. Jeff Hardy and CM Punk, that was gold. One of my favorite feuds of all time, and I was so happy to see that feud come through. It started as two top baby faces. One of them gave us the shocking heel turn, and it was just an awesome feud. If you don't believe me, go watch SmackDown in 2009. SmackDown in 2009, that was the A show. Screw the guest host era of Raw. SmackDown was it in 2009. Definitely my favorite. One of my favorite years in SmackDown history. Then we get, oh boy, we get a Kid Rock concert that takes up maybe 10 minutes of the night with him doing his hits, only for the ending for him to sing So Hot. All the divas come out to hype up the 25 Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal with special guest timekeeper Mae Young. And before the match even started, Justin Roberts is giving the rules and the instructions as girls are getting out left and right. We didn't even get to see these legends get a proper treatment. Like, we didn't, a lot of you didn't even know that Victoria, Tori Wilson are in this match, and nobody cared. Sunny was in here, who was never really known for wrestling. So goodness, she got out, given her past. I don't even want to talk about this woman. But the thing that people talk about is that god awful ending. We had throughout the match, we had this mysterious woman just kind of walking around. She looked kind of weird, and then at the end, it was Beth Phoenix and Melina. Beth Phoenix throws out Melina, and then this mystery woman throws out Beth Phoenix, only to find out that it was Santina Marella. Santino cosplaying as his fake sister is the first ever Miss WrestleMania. Now, there was rumors that Trish Stratus, Lita, and all these other massive legends were gonna be a part of this, and thank goodness they were not, because this was just embarrassing and disrespectful. Now, the Divas division was never great, but this did not deserve what it did, and it was just so stupid. And why did Santino want to be a part of this anyways? If he really wanted a match, why didn't he just qualify for Money in a Bank? Actually, scratch that. That would have been a terrible idea. Personally, given the outcome of the IC title match, I kind of wish that Santino walked into WrestleMania as IC champion and then lose it the way JBL loses it, which we'll get to when we get to it. Yeah, this was really stupid and embarrassing. Chris Jericho versus Jimmy Snuka, Ricky Steamboat, and Roddy Piper with Ric Flair on their corner. 3 legends versus Chris Jericho in a handicap elimination match. This was a way to hype up the movie The Wrestler. We were supposed to get Mickey Rourke versus Chris Jericho, but that wouldn't have made sense in the long run. It should have just been Jericho hating on all these legends. Scratch the whole Mickey Rourke thing. It was just a big commercial for that movie that never got an Oscar, which it should have. I don't think it should have won Best Picture, but I think it should have been nominated. Mickey Rourke deserved Best Actor that year. The match is what it was. Chris Jericho squashing Snuka and Roddy Piper. They were out of there. But the biggest surprise to everybody was when we found out that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat still got it, as old as he was. And we kind of should have suspected. If you actually go back and look at the pictures that they use for all the legends, they use Ricky Steamboat's 80s picture, making him look like he was still young at that age, but he wasn't. But Ricky Steamboat carried it, and then it was so good that at Backlash they had a proper rematch, just them two, no other legends. I'm actually shocked they didn't pull Ric Flair out of retirement to have a match with Chris Jericho. Thank goodness they didn't do that, but eventually it ends with Chris Jericho beating all these legends, Mickey Rourke coming out and knocking out Jericho, and then standing tall with Ric Flair. Chris Jericho had a really good run in 2008. Honestly, one of his best years ever, with the whole suit wearing, hypocrite calling. That feud with Shawn Michaels in 2008 was one of the best feuds of the year. Chris Jericho deserved so much better. This was just embarrassing for him. I didn't hate the storyline necessarily of somebody wanting to take out all these legends after 25 years of WrestleMania, these people who won't let go of it. I think it was fitting. I don't think Chris Jericho was the correct guy to use for this story. I don't know, it might just be me, but at least I'm happy that Chris Jericho did the best that he could, even though this match was still bad, regardless of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat giving a stellar performance. Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy, brother versus brother in an Extreme Rules match. Now, I now figured out why we didn't get an ECW championship match. 1, Jack Swagger was the ECW champion, and 2, we already had an Extreme Rules match. Now, first of all, top feud. This was gold. I loved the feud. But there's 2 things that was wrong with this match. First of all, the wrong guy went over. The wrong Hardy went over. Matt Hardy winning is simply just because Owen won with Bret Hart 15 years ago, so they wanted to do that feeling again of the heel getting over, but even though he didn't deserve it. And 2, a lot of this match was Jeff Hardy doing everything. There's a part where he pulls a sign of WWE magazine and knocks him out with it. The only momentum Matt Hardy had was hitting Jeff Hardy with a chair for a while, which didn't even last long. It was really just Jeff Hardy doing all these high spots, and some of them made no sense. There was one where Matt Hardy is on a table, Jeff puts another table, and then he jumps on top of both of them. I'm like, why didn't you just use the one ladder? Was it really necessary to put two there? And then at the end, Jeff Hardy puts two ladders. He jumps from one over the other, falls on his ass. He does the Matt Hardy does the twist of fate. I was just kind of hoping this was a possible back and forth. This should have happened maybe in WrestleMania 20, if I'm being honest. Imagine if we got it then when they were still allowed to use blood and they were still hardcore. I still was happy with the feud. That video package was awesome with the song Crash. I loved it for that alone. But I do think that they do have a better match at Backlash. The I Quit match, I personally think was better. Not only that, the right guy went over. This one was just okay. It wasn't the end all be all. It's kind of weird that these two brothers don't have great chemistry. We find out 15 years later that two other brothers do not have good chemistry. On to the IC title match. A match where we all were wondering why these two. Why is it JBL versus Rey Mysterio? We've seen this countless times for the World Heavyweight Championship nonetheless. At this point, it was just, what were we doing? Also, this is the first time the IC title gets defended at a WrestleMania since 18, which was Rob Van Dam and William Regal. This match was weird, so it wasn't even a match. Let's just call it like it is. JBL talks about how Houston ain't it. He's resigning to New York. He's gonna make this a historical moment. People are gonna be talking about this for years. Not true. Rey Mysterio comes out dressed like the Joker because The Dark Knight was one of the most over movies in this time. The match starts. Rey throws in a 619, 1, 2, 3. Rey Mysterio is your winner. And then JBL's big announcement after the match is that he quit. He made a historical moment by quitting at WrestleMania 25. And he was really gone. This was his last match outside of a Royal Rumble cameo in 2014. Now, JBL was wrong by saying that his moment was going to be the biggest moment of the night, because it wasn't. You know what it was? It was Undertaker and Shawn Michaels having a 30-minute classic. It's kind of crazy. In his Hall of Fame speech, The Undertaker's Hall of Fame speech, he tells them that this match was originally going to be like 12 minutes. Somehow these two convinced them otherwise, and they gave us the greatest match of all time. This is my favorite match ever. Screw what Edge and Orton say. They are not the greatest wrestling match of all time. This is. Two legends, both Texans, just giving the fans what they want. The crowd was crazy. The commentary was top notch. And a kick out. And a kick out. And a kick out. The great entrances of Shawn Michaels coming from the heavens. Undertaker coming from hell. The feud itself was mid. I will say it was very much, they were both desperate. They needed something good at WrestleMania. Good news is that they stopped that stupid storyline of Shawn Michaels being broke and working for JBL. Undertaker was directionless, so why not just put these two together and give us this match? The spots were top notch, even though it has an amazingly bad botch where Undertaker dives. No one was there to catch him. Shawn Michaels throws the cameraman, who I believe was Jimmy Snuka's son, if I'm not mistaken. Shawn Michaels was willing to end the streak no matter what, even winning by countout, which thankfully he didn't. That would have sucked if that's how the streak ended. The counters, the finisher. This match has been mocked and replicated, and it just hasn't worked since. These are two legends that know what they're doing. Just leave it to them. Stop trying to copy Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. They gave us a masterpiece of a match, and if it wasn't for this match, this would have gone down as one of the worst WrestleManias of all time, and that is saying something. Anyways, the streak continues, 17-0. It was very clear that The Undertaker was going to win. At this point, it was the two top Mr. WrestleManias, the actual Mr. WrestleMania and the Undertaker streak. Because when you think of the matches that you want to see at WrestleMania, it's always been the Undertaker match or the Shawn Michaels match, and now we got both of them together. So kudos to them. Thank you both for giving us this phenomenal match, my favorite match. And if it wasn't for this match, I would have never become a long-time hardcore fan like I am today. On to the world title matches, and I'm sorry, none of these matches were going to follow Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, and I do feel bad because the next match is a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Edge, Big Show, and John Cena. Now, I'm going to start off by saying that this match is not that bad. It's actually pretty enjoyable. It wasn't great, but it was pretty good. The feud was awful. Edge takes Kofi Kingston's spot in the chamber, takes the belt after losing the WWE Championship, and then Big Show and Edge were having this friendship with Vicky Guerrero. It was an affair between Vicky, Big Show, and Edge. John Cena blackmailed them to get inserted into this match. So really, John Cena, the winner of the match, was the afterthought. Yeah, that is not a good way to put your champions. If anything, what I would have done is just Cena and Edge. Big Show could have done something else. Maybe he could have knocked out JBL and then get his victory. Put Rey in Money in the Bank because, let's be honest, Rey Mysterio and Money in the Bank, take my money. Yeah, this match did what it did. It was fine. A lot of people remember this for John Cena coming out with a bunch of John Cena replicas. I didn't even talk about John Cena's entrance last year with the marching band, which I think is one of my favorite entrances of John Cena's. This one with the million John Cena's was funny because they come out to Dr. Thuganomics theme song, Basic Thuganomics. They all do this, and then John Cena comes out. It was kind of a funny visual. In this match, most of it, you could tell they wanted to do Edge versus John Cena. There's a part where Big Show has his arms tied to the ropes, so he can't really do much. My spot of the night was obviously when John Cena picked up both Big Show and Edge. Thankfully, Edge moved out of the way because there's no way Edge would have survived if John Cena threw both men at the same time. Edge moves out of the way. Big Show gets the FU. Then John Cena catches Edge, throws the FU on top of Big Show, pins him, and he is now your World Heavyweight Champion. He runs into the crowd, has this moment. Even with the We Hate Cena shirt, he didn't care. He was happy. A solid match, but man, was this feud terrible. There was even a part I forgot to mention where Edge spears Vicky Guerrero when Cena moved out of the way. Chavo Guerrero was there just because he needed to carry Vicky in a wheelchair. 2 years in a row, Vicky Guerrero was in a wheelchair. Come on. Now we move on to the Hall of Fame class of 2009. And to many people, they say that this is the greatest class in Hall of Fame history. I can see why people would say that. And I don't blame you if you think this is. I don't know if it is for me. I need to go and check out the rest of the classes. But that's not to say that this class ain't bad, because this is a solid stacked class. The only one I really don't know that well is Cowboy Bill Watts, but a lot of people do like that guy and respect that guy. Coco Beware is one of my personal favorites. I know he was a jobber, but man, he was so entertaining watching his early stuff in the 90s. Possibly one of my favorite parts to watch if I ever look back at 1993 Raws and the Funks, Terry Funk and Dory Funk Jr. Just two badasses. Terry Funk by himself could have been in there, but they put in Dory Funk with him. I respect that. Howard Finkel, the Fink, who up to this point hasn't even missed a single WrestleMania, so I can't get mad at that. The Von Erich family, I have more respect for them, and unfortunately they have a tragic story. I was at least happy that Kevin Von Erich was there to speak for all of the family, so I was very happy for that. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, he had one of the greatest Intercontinental Championship matches, those classic matches with Ric Flair. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, hands down one of the goats of in-ring professional wrestling. And then of course the headliner, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I love that he came out the way he did, where like they had all the people being announced. Stone Cold walks away and then he comes back with a bunch of beers in his little car, having a beer with Jim Ross. Awesome moment. Him just running all over the place. Just hands down a cool moment and a cool visual. And this started the trend of having all the Hall of Famers stand out there except the headliner. And then the headliner has his own grand entrance. We need a woman to eventually be the headliner. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Charlotte Flair whenever she gets inducted. On to the most disappointing main event in the history of WrestleMania main events. Triple H versus Randy Orton. This feud was gold. This feud was awesome. This match was terrible. Oh my goodness. So the story is that Randy Orton has been getting screwed time and time. He takes it on the McMahons. Triple H kind of being that representative. I like that Randy Orton called him out for being a fake. There was a point where I even thought Randy Orton was going to be the face of this storyline and Triple H the heel, but they managed to make it work. And it's kind of crazy to make the McMahon's baby faces, but it worked for the story that it was given. I kind of do wish that Triple H went in more deep with like the reason why you didn't do it, Randy, is because you were lazy, you were cocky, you were arrogant, and you still are, or something like that. That would have saved this feud. Triple H breaking into Randy Orton's house, breaking and entering. Randy DDTing Stephanie while Triple H is handcuffed. He kisses Stephanie, puts punts to all the McMahons. This was just brutal. It's only too bad that we had this stupid stipulation where if Triple H gets DQ'd, he automatically loses the title. And I remember in the announcement from Lillian Garcia, she said, due to Vicky Guerrero's orders, if Triple H gets disqualified, he loses the championship. Wouldn't Vince McMahon say, fuck that, we're making this a no-holds-barred match? I don't get it. This should have been brutal, balls to the walls, but instead it was just a technical match. They have grapples. I don't like grapples when a feud doesn't need grapples. Like, imagine if Rock and Austin, the two men that want to beat the crap out of each other, it starts with rest holds. It just doesn't work. And match was really boring. It really only picked up at the end when Randy Orton has a sledgehammer. He's going to use it while the referee's knocked down. No interference from Legacy, which really threw me off. This could have been cool if we had the McMahons and Legacy involved. That would have been really cool to see, but we never got that. At the end, Triple H wins, LOL. I guess nice way to end the night. Overall, I thought that this show was passable just for the fact that Undertaker and Shawn Michaels really carried it, but man, was this show boring. I don't know what else to give it except a C. And that is being generous, because if Shawn Michaels and Undertaker wasn't there, I would have given this a D. The Money in the Bank ladder match for a while was the best match of the show. Anyways, I was thoroughly happy with the fact that this was the show that made me a fan, a permanent fan. Too bad that it took us a while to really appreciate this era of WWE, because it was bad. The Rock guest host era, John Cena and Randy Orton hot potatoing stuff. It took a while for me to get invested. If you just watch SmackDown in 2009, you're set. It's one of the best years in SmackDown history, like I said. But anyways, we're going to move on to WrestleMania 26, and I have fond memories of that show. And don't worry, it is way much better than this show. But I'm very excited to talk about WrestleMania 26. Anyways, take care, everybody.